So, I get a lot of my shots with thoughts when I'm in the shower. And, you know, had a thought today about the world we've all grown up in and what we've been conditioned to do and how we're handling ourselves when we're not allowed to do what we've been conditioned to do. And there's really just two things that come to mind when I think about this. We've been conditioned to consume. All of us have. Every human being on this planet has been conditioned to consume. The majority. I have a habit of saying everyone. There's probably a very small percent out there that live in the wild, live in the mountains, that live off the land and appreciate and respect Mother Earth. And they're not a programmed consumer. But for the rest of us, growing up in modern societies, industrial world, we've all been programmed to do two things very strongly: consume and compete. And right now, if you look around at how we're handling our inability to do these two things, most people are just beside themselves. They don't know what to do. They're bored and they're angst. They have angst, they have anxiety, but they're bored. They want to relax. It's like laziness and anxiousness are like these two battling each other in our minds, because we're not able to follow the program we've been given societally, and we're trying to follow the truth of what we are through our hearts. You know, the mind is where the program is. You know, we've been conditioned, this mind has been conditioned to compete and consume. And right now, we're doing neither, and we don't know what to do with ourselves, the majority. Think about that for a minute. Just stop and pause and think about that. I mean, that's what we're in right now. This is the great human pause. Many of us have asked for this. Many have wanted this to stop, the path, the direction we were going. And now that it's stopped, many are complaining. It's kind of what we've been programmed to do, hasn't it? You know, we get what we want, and then we complain that we don't want that anymore. We want something different. Look at all the people wanting to garden this year. I mean, granted, gardening's important, but we should have been doing this for years, not when all of a sudden this pandemic hits. You know, but we've also then created to depend on, we've been conditioned to depend on a government that does not represent its people, that represents the corporations that want our dependency, right? Because they profit off of it. They profit off of us. They profit off us consuming, and they profit off us competing. Because when we're competing against each other, we get so focused on competing with each other, sometimes we don't even realize the truth of what we're doing and what our end game is, because we're too wrapped up in the competition aspect of it. And then we're all done. We won, and we don't want what we won. So, you know, something to think about right now and where we are in our world, you know, and what Earth is herself is forcing the human being to do. Stop consuming, stop competing. See what you're doing and what you've been conditioned to do. And maybe you can wake up and stop being manipulated and controlled through fear. The fear of not paying this, of not paying that, of not being here, for that matter, because that's a whole other conversation, right? How we look at death. Life and death are equal. If you look at it any other way, you're screwing yourself, and that's the truth of creation. Life and death are equal. Problem with death is we don't know what comes after it. That's where faith comes in, and we all have faith. It's built within us right here in these hearts. Problem with that is we try to fit into somebody else's space, and we can't, because it's unique to each of our own paths. So stop competing. Stop consuming. That's where you're at right now. How are you handling that? How about you do the opposite of what you've been doing, right? How about we flip it? That seems to be how things work the best. You know, if you're afraid, step into it. So if you're consuming, you know, do the opposite of that. Preserve it. If you're competing, start sharing. Be well. Be loved.